Bringing Back the Buffalo, Level Book N. Now I'm going to read a book of Level N of Razkids, Bringing Back the Buffalo. Bringing Back the Buffalo. Focus question. How will raising a herd of buffalo affect Tony and his tribe? Hurry and get dressed, Tony's mom said from his bedroom doorway. Uncle Roger and Annie are waiting for you. Tony rolled out of bed. He pulled on his clothes and shoved his feet into his tennis shoes with a yawn. Are you excited to see the buffalo? His mom asked. Tony shrugged. Sure, he said. Tony didn't really see what was so exciting about the reservation, getting a buffalo herd. His cousin Annie was way more excited about it than he was. Annie and Uncle Roger were waiting outside in Uncle Roger's pickup truck. Tony hopped in. As they rode along, Uncle Roger told Tony and Annie about the buffalo they were going to see. The Red Lake Tribal Council voted to raise a buffalo herd, he said. Some of the meat will be shared among the tribe. Some of it will be sold so the tribe can buy more buffalo. It's part of our tribe's larger effort to create food sovereignty for us.
Sovereignty. Sovereignty.
Sovereignty. What does this mean? Asked Tony. It means we'll grow vegetables and raise animals locally, said Annie. That would be pretty cool, said Tony. The buffalo is important to that effort, Uncle Roger explained. They've always taken care of our people. They gave us food, a hide for clothes and shelter, and bones to make utensils. Really? Asked Tony. Like that? Like what? Soup, ladles, needles, and all kinds of tools, Annie answered. Annie loved history. Asked her anything about algebra, history, and she knew the answer. Tony thought history was boring. What was so important about something that happened a long time ago? Even though she knew that tissue that connects muscle to bone was dried and used as thread, Annie went on. Wow, said Tony. He had to admit that was pretty interesting. Every part of the buffalo was used, Uncle Roger said. Not many people practice these skills today, but with a herd on our lands, we can start to relearn them. As Annie and Uncle Roger talked, Tony watched the lake and trees of the Red Lake Reservation disappear behind them. The land turned to farmland with fields and cows behind fences. Why is Buffalo Ranch so far away? Asked Tony. Both cousins lived on the shore of Red Lake, surrounded by trees. Uncle Roger described the prairies of South Dakota, where the buffalo were coming from. Buffalo need big spaces. They wouldn't be happy living crowded in trees. On the prairie, they will have room to move around. Just then, they arrived at the Red Lake Buffalo Ranch. Look, shouted Annie as she jumped out of the pickup truck. She pointed at two buffaloes standing in a field surrounded by a fence. Wow, said Tony, looking at the buffalo. They were a lot bigger than he thought they'd be. They're the size of a car. Will that fence hold them? he asked. Uncle Roger nodded. Don't lean so far over the gate, though, Uncle Roger warned. You don't want to fall in and get chased by one. Tony laughed. I could run faster than them, he said. They're so big and heavy. Buffalo can run up to 35 miles an hour, said Annie. Can you run that fast? Well, said Tony. He shook his head no. This effort isn't just about food, said Uncle Roger. It's a way to reconnect to our heritage. I'll have us make our cultural it'll have us make our cultural and historic connection to the land strong again. As a tribe, we'll learn how to care for the buffalo and how the buffalo care for us. The three of them leaned on the fence as they admired the animals. History still wasn't his favorite subject, but Tony was starting to understand Annie's excitement. Can you come see them again tomorrow? He asked. Uncle Roger smiled and nodded. Red Lake Buffalo Ranch. Buffalo are cow-like animals secret to native peoples of the Great Plains. The species is known as the American bison, but they are commonly called buffalo in North America. Giant herds of buffalo once roamed the plains in the 1800s. However, the U.S. government told settlers and soldiers to kill buffalo. They wanted to force native people to give up their ways of life. The number of buffalo dropped from tens of millions to a few hundred by the end of the 1800s. The Red Lake Nation, a band of Plains Ojibwe people in northwestern Minnesota, started the Red Lake Buffalo Ranch in 2019. Red Lake Nation is one of more than 65 native nations that belong to the Intertribal Buffalo Council. The Buffalo Council is working to restore buffalo populations on tribal lands. Since 1991, it has grown the buffalo population on tribal land to more than 20,000.